it up to some questions.
Primeramente, muchas gracias por su reporte. First of all, thank you so much for the report. How much time did the report take you to compile?
Buena pregunta. The report, we had 60 people working on the research for 2 years. Each survey was an hour and a half long, and then computerizing it took a lot of extra time. And we're still at the final stages of the analysis because we're comparing different regions of the border. How different the Tijuana San Diego is from the Nogales area. How different El Paso is from Nuevo Laredo. So it's an ongoing analysis, but this report that we got out is kind of a preliminary overview because Congress was getting to this debate and we wanted to challenge the assumptions that they were doing. Your question is a good question.
To that point, on the assumptions, comprehensively, no? We understand that this is a very extensive report, but comprehensively, we've heard Jose Matus address the issue of the Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative, no? As an initiative that is basically being driven by Homeland Security and the U.S. government, but at the hemispheric level. Every single country in this hemisphere is being required to elevate the identification systems for transnational travel, international travel across these international borders, according to the standards of Homeland Security and their passport regulations, Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative. Comprehensively, continentally, as indigenous peoples with the right of self-determination, and according to the cause and purpose of this Alianza, the right of mobility, none of these borders, not a single one of these borders, was put in place with our free, prior, informed consent or permission, but had been imposed in violation not only of our family rights, but of our rights as nations that precede the colonization. Now, comprehensively, in this context, where has this issue been addressed? Where has it been analyzed in terms of the right of indigenous peoples and our rights that precede extra-constitutionally the immigration policies of this government or that government or any of these governments of the settler states that impose their borders on this territory? Where has this been analyzed in academia? Where is this conversation taking place in terms of the community, in terms of the movement that has to be done that you so well addressed? This is the challenge that we face. Your comments.
Extremely well said. It is a, I would put it in the context is that people like you are putting it on the plate. It has to be a broad political challenge has to be made immediately. I know it's begun, but I think in our report, as I interviewed Otomí people or Nahuatl people or Maya people from Mexico who've been forced out of their lands, forced out of their community lands by U.S. policy, have been put into a highly vulnerable situation. The possibilities of alliances, and I know you're working on that, throughout Latin America is both very threatening to those governments, but critical at this point in time to make it. And so I'm just kind of drawing one of the kind of linkages of the migrants to people who really don't understand, coming from the South, don't understand the history and the history and the kind of sovereignty issues that you all understand so well.
The point being that there seems to be a need also in the analysis to address this dimension of the issue beyond just a simple family and regional approach. There needs to be address it from the position of indigenous peoples themselves with their nationhood at the forefront, their treaty rights at the forefront, their rights of mobility at the forefront. And there's a need within academia itself to actually recognize and address this part of the research so that it can be elevated in the debates that are taking place. There can be no reform in terms of immigration, not only in this country, but in any of these countries, unless the rights of indigenous peoples. Unless we're talking about rights of indigenous, we're not talking immigration. Unless we're talking 1492 forward. The terms being manipulated to suit the interests of the same entities that you just described, which are not just subjugation, this issue of colonization.
I agree entirely.